Ghost-type Pokemon, the spookiest and scary things we encounter in the video games, but what's even more impressive are the people who tame them. Greetings dear viewer, join us on a hair-raising journey through today's bone-chilling Pokemon feature, the Ghost-type Masters. In the recent years of Pokemon, I feel like there's been much more appreciation for the actual human trainers rather than the Pokemon. I mean, these are some great character designs. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about every Ghost-type Pokemon trainer. I wouldn't really count this as like a character design video because I've discussed most of them on that front already. I guess it's more like one of those tier list videos, but more so my personal thoughts on them. Surprisingly, there aren't all that many when we look at the gym leaders and Elite Four members. I guess missing out for one on X and Y made it feel like less. Anyway, we start off in Generation 1 with the Elite Four member, Agatha. While she really has more poison Pokemon than she does ghost types, I think that was due to the smaller Pokedex. Anyway, I love the idea of an older trainer who says she knows Professor Oak but acts very differently from him. Obviously more focused on battling and maintaining her position rather than research and guidance. Her English name Agatha is a great choice too. It gives her this mystical feeling while also being pretty far removed from modern names. Hands down, some of the best we've seen of her was in the Pokemon Generations episode where Gengar creeps out of the Pokeball in her cane. I don't care how many times Gengar keeps getting brought back in other people's teams, it'll always be hers. She gets extra points for being one of the only older characters in the Red and Blue games, and then just disappearing in Gold and Silver. I always took this as implying she had died, and honestly I think that's exactly how she would have wanted it. So long, Granny, may you rest in peace. Next up is Morty, and like I said, I've already talked about his very 90s fashion choices and how his new look is a lot better in my opinion. Though he doesn't seem all that interesting, I think a more calm and collected look is more fitting of him, especially in Ecruteak City, which is a lot more chill than places we had been to up until that point, living in the shadow of a burned tower. I also really like how he's interested in the history and mythology of the legendary Pokemon. It's fitting for a Ghost-type trainer to be fixated on the past, and he even got to partner up with Ho-Oh in Pokemon Masters, so that's pretty cool. Then comes Phoebe, who I've loved since the beginning. Someone so cheery and upbeat is a great contrast for a ghost-type trainer, especially because she can see and interact with ghosts. I think this is what makes her so joyful. Knowing that death isn't truly the end, she's able to fully enjoy life, knowing that a lot of her ghostly friends seem happy where they are. I do also like how her family is tied to the lore of the region, being caretakers of Mount Pyre, a very important place we visit during the story. And the remakes of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, including a ghost girl just chilling in a room at the Pokemon League, is great. Yeah, sure, give me a scare while I'm trying to battle here. Then comes Fantina, and I'll be honest, I was never a huge fan of her, especially with how the original games had us move past her gym because it was locked and then come back later for a battle. I will say that the concept of having a contest performer with an elegant purple dress, this larger-than-life personality, is another great idea, contrasting someone so lively with ghosts. And in the remakes, her gym battlefield looks so good. That was one of my favorite things about these games. I do also like how she'll throw some French in her dialogue, and that was later interpreted as her being from Kalos. In the end, she's okay. Now we can talk about Chantal, and ooh boy, her design is great, especially the collar. It's meant to look like a cat, the pink brooch being a nose, and the overall shape being the rest of the head. Her room in the Unova Pokemon League is the pinnacle of vibes, and I really wish more of the ghost trainers would get some better theming like this. Again, having a ghost type trainer more on the studious side makes a lot of sense, focusing on not only the past in Chantal's case, but even speculating about lore and other people. She is just a big nerd and a fanfiction writer basically. An old haunted library is the perfect place for a bookworm to hang out with ghost Pokemon. She's such a nerd, I love it. Skipping Generation 6 and straight to 7, we meet Acerola, a weird little kid dressed in rags who is a trial captain rather than a gym leader. And because of this, I feel like we see her a lot more than the other trainers, and is an aspect I'm a huge fan of when it comes to Sun and Moon. Her trial takes place in an abandoned shopping mart that has its own kind of creepy vibes. Interesting that we hadn't seen a location like this in the past, but it makes a perfect place to encounter some ghostly imposters and even jealous Pokemon. On top of that, she comes back as one of the Elite Four members once the Pokemon League is all set up. She's got to be one of the more developed characters in Pokemon with her backstory and other character relationships. It's all great. Then comes Alistair in Generation 8, and I've gotta be honest, I don't think he has a whole lot going on. Coming off of one of the better Ghost-type users, he unfortunately has to deal with being a version-exclusive gym leader, so any role he would play in the story needed to be cut down significantly. I like the aesthetic he's got going on, being a shy guy, and seeing him show up in an episode of Twilight Wings was perfect to give him even more character moments, much like how we got an episode focusing on Bee, his counterpart, but I think he's just okay. Lastly, we have Ryan from the most recent games, and yeah, I really like her. Having a cool look in gym battle, finally playing doubles like we should be. While she and the other gym leaders in Scarlet and Violet just disappear after we defeat them in battle, she has more backstory going on with how she brought her Pokemon to life just by singing and how she took over the gym from her sister. Design-wise, I'm also a fan. Just wish they'd give her an actual song in the game, she deserved it more than Ed Sheeran. So with all that said, here's where I would rank every Ghost-type trainer on my tier list. I wouldn't put anybody below a B. So let me know what you think in the comments below about all the Ghost users in the Pokemon series and where you would rank each of them. Like I said, I figured I'd do something like this because about half of these characters I've already discussed in more detail, and the other half I'll eventually touch on even more in the future. If I remember those other videos I mentioned, will be a link in the comments below, but also let me know what you thought about this format. Anyway, I can't think of a cool pun to end this video with, so insert something spooky here. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, especially the great Gators. Actual Clown, Black Ice, Cheeseburger Lasers, Dan V. Farrar, Dunkachino II, Eevee, Jen Eric, Justin R, Cosmo Zero, Lil Swiss, Meme Supreme, Nathan Boytz, Nomad Nobi, Oleg Studios, Phantom, Pio the Genius, Quago, Tajirai, Viz, Volity, and Pastel Blood. If you would like to support, get your name shouted out here as well as access to emotes for comments, live streams, and sometimes early videos, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter as well for more memes. Anyway, this has been GatorX. Thank you for joining our feature presentation, and I'll catch you all later.
What's waiting in the darkness? Darkrai EX, Kyogre EX. Rule the darkness with Pokemon trading card game Black and White Dark Explorers. In stores now. Each booster pack of 10 cards sold separately. Cards vary by pack. One code card per booster pack.